Okay, here's the charcoal canister underneath the 04 Dakota. You can see there's a frame rail here to the left. There's a big rusty metal bracket that it sits on. And in fact, there's the drive shaft and the output from the transmission and transfer case. And so the charcoal canister itself is just a plastic container with activated carbon on the inside of it, and you can see that there's a bunch of hoses coming out of it. One of the hoses leads up to the front of the truck and it connects to the purge valve, so that when the purge valve opens, this thing sucks itself empty. One of the hoses comes from the fuel tank, and one of them will come from the filler neck on the side of the truck box, so that when you fill the vehicle, that if there's any spill or fumes or whatever, it can be collected. There's an electronic valve on these things as well, the atmospheric air vent. So if you picture that, remember that your purge valve is connected to the intake manifold. So the purge valve is, when the purge valve gets turned on, then the intake manifold is sucking through the valve all the way back to here, again like a drinking straw. Now if you want the gases to flow out of this thing more efficiently, then you want to actually allow air into it. And so the air will go into this thing, flow through it, pick up the unburned hydrocarbons, basically releasing them from the activated carbon. Okay, so this is kind of like a container that empties and fills all the time. The activated carbon will absorb the hydrocarbons of the fuel, and then when the purge circuit is active, a valve will open on this thing to allow outside air into it, and the purge valve opens and the whole thing is under vacuum, and so the outside air gets sucked into the charcoal canister, passes through it, picks up fumes, runs them up to the front of the motor, it passes through the purge valve and then into the intake. Okay, and the engine knows its own purge circuit, so yes, it's adding some unmetered air and fuel in terms of fumes, but it knows that because it knows that it has turned this circuit on. So there's going to be some programming there that is going to allow for that. Okay, where you get a fault in this system is if the air valve doesn't open on this charcoal canister, or if the purge valve doesn't open, or if you've got a hose somewhere between here and the front of the vehicle that has a crack in it and it sucks extra air in, that's where you start getting faults. Okay, and that's where you start getting codes. This system operates under vacuum, and so to test it, normally what a garage does is uses what's called a smoke machine, and they'll basically connect the smoke machine to one of the vacuum hoses, and they'll put the whole system under pressure, and they'll shove a smoke, a type of synthetic smoke through it, and then they'll go looking for the smoke. And wherever the smoke comes out is where your leak is. That could be out of the side of a hose. That could be one of these fittings. That U-shaped elbow hose there, I've had to replace that already because it's got such a flex on it that it splits over time. You can see how exposed this stuff is too. So those of you that like slamming your pickup trucks through all sorts of, off-road experiences, these are the sorts of things that can get easily damaged, and then all of a sudden you got an engine light, and so these are one of the things that you want to check. Okay, but again, it's all part of your emission system to prevent hydrocarbons from being released to the atmosphere.